All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get you started on this assignment. This assignment is incredibly important to your overall essay that we're going to start on Wednesday and Thursday. In that essay, for the outsiders, you are going to be proving that two of these characters down here, okay, change the way that people see them or transform or evolve from the stereotype or label that they're initially given. The only character who doesn't really match that is Ponyboy. You're going to talk about how Ponyboy and his perspective of other people changes throughout the course of this novel. Right? And that's going to be at the heart of your essay. Yes, you're going to explain and kind of take it in different directions, but that's really at the root of what we're going to be doing here. So, you need to, in this assignment today, is look through your book and find at least one example for each of these characters of how the character actually changes or how their perspective changes. And so what I've done for you, I've done a lot of the legwork for you, and that is I've given you page numbers of how each of these character initially is stereotyped or labeled, or how their thinking is at the very beginning, to how they ultimately prove or illustrate or demonstrate how they change. And so you can see all those page numbers here. So you are going to need your book for this assignment, right? So let me go ahead and get you started. So here's Ponyboy. We'll go ahead and erase this here. How does Ponyboy change? Well, if you think about it, one of the major ways that he changes is through his perspective or how he sees other people. And so he's the one who's doing all the labeling and stereotyping at the beginning of this book. And so he's really kind of narrow-minded and or closed-minded on how he sees people. And then towards the end of the book, though, he really kind of opens his perspective, or opens up to really understanding or getting to see who people really are, especially people like Cherry, Johnny, or Dally. So in this box over here, for each character, you're going to talk about the change they go through or the transformation. So you're going to say Ponyboy, he, changes his perspective of other people. Spell this correctly. Right? So what is his initial perspective of someone or people? So over here, you want to keep it focused on someone like Cherry, or Dally or Johnny. So ask yourself, what does, like, let's take Cherry for example. What is his first impression or his first kind of stereotype or label of Cherry? And if you remember correctly, right, he actually stereotypes and labels her as a typical soc cheerleader. He thinks that she is a typical soc cheerleader. And at the beginning of the book, either on page 3 or 36 or 42, you can go ahead and look at those pages. Where does he actually say that about her? Where does he make that stereotype or that label of her? Right? Then over here, you're going to have to find in these pages down here an example of how Cherry actually completely changes his idea of her and who she really is as a person. And there's tons. There are a ton of examples of how Cherry proves she is not that typical soc cheerleader, rich girl, stuck up girl that he thinks she is at the very beginning of this book. Right? She proves herself different. So how does she do that? But how, most importantly, how does Ponyboy where does he admit that he sees her differently? In any of these pages here. So you're going to want to find one quote or example here. You could do a paraphrase or you could do a quote, and one quote or paraphrase here. So let me take you down to Johnny. So think about, how does Johnny change? This is probably one of the most straightforward and probably the easiest character to write about, because it's clear that at the beginning of this book, everyone thinks Johnny is a scared little puppy, a kid who cannot take care of himself. And so he changes, though, to a brave, courageous hero. So at the beginning, if you look up here, for Johnny, how is he stereotyped on these pages, right? Try to find a quote where Ponyboy or anyone is saying something about him that proves he is that scared kid. Then, down here, find a quote or a paraphrase for how he changes the way people see him. What does he do on these pages that ultimately proves he's courageous, he's a hero, and that he was born to be someone who's going to stick their neck out for someone else or sacrifice their own life to save someone else's. Right? So you want to do that. So I need one quote here, one quote here. Okay, and then over here, explain to me the change that he undergoes. Same thing for Cherry. How does she change, or how does she prove she is not, okay, the way people see her? Okay, one quote here, one quote here. And then last but not least, of course, Dally. What change does Dally go through? Okay, how does Ponyboy see Dally differently? And then over here, you're going to do, okay, his initial label or stereotype, and then over here, how he actually changes the way people see him and what he does to change people's minds, or especially Ponyboy's mind. All right, so I want you to go through each of these characters. You need one quote for each of these boxes. So total, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, either 8 quotes or 8 paraphrases. Don't just do only paraphrases. I need you to have some quotes as well, or you can do all quotes if you want to. Okay, but this is what you need to try to get done tomorrow during class. Do not waste your time on this. Ultimately, you're going to pick 2 of these characters, and if you've done this worksheet, guess what? You will already have your evidence, or the evidence you need for your essay, in your body paragraphs, and you won't have to go searching through your book to find any more. Okay, you're going to need your book today. Go to these page numbers. Try to find a really good quality example, okay, for each of these characters. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and send me a message or a private message on Google Classroom, and I'll try to help you out with that. But this needs to get done. Okay, try to get this done before Wednesday. All right. And this will help you tremendously when you start writing your essay, especially on Friday as well. So try to get it done before Friday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we'll focus on the introduction paragraphs. All right, guys, work hard, get this done. And if you finish early, you can work on your I Ready.